Suavecito me la va a deber. Porque yo soy indio, no debo de saberlo. Pasa ya mi tierra, no debe de suceder. Milicia del masacre, es injusto que no ven. A mi pobre gente que no se lo merece.
Back again. And welcome to It's Happening Show, community grassroots media for the people, by the people. I'm Jose Gloria.
And I'm Dylan Thompson. We are your hosts tonight.
Tonight, and every night.
Indeed.
That's right.
Oh, whoa. Oh.
Indeed. It's happening. It's a movement of the heart and of the mind. It's the energy of the universe that creates waves inside us and all around us, which allows us to activate, motivate, and elevate vibrationally and intellectually towards love, truth, justice, and wisdom. It's happening in every which way.
It's Happening is a culture of empowerment. It's people having the right to exist and participate as equals. It's a dream of what the world could be. But the future we want is only possible if we make it happen. So stand up, get informed, and fight back.
Fight back. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with us, so we thank you. Because of you,
it's happening. Ooh. I need to go look at the old recordings of these because I think they're actually pretty bad.
Dude, we used to have, we were so in sync.
Yeah, there's something about being in the same room. You can't, that 100 millisecond lag is, it's hard to accommodate for. Yeah.
I know. Just one of many things that COVID has ruined for us are magical. It's happening in chorus, in sync, in harmony. It's happening. It's happening.
Our duets. We can't do our duets anymore. It's a shame. That's the fan favorite.
Yeah, man.
That's where you step in. You have your musical corner, you know?
Yeah. So, we're excited. In a little bit, we're going to have Tony Adame, one of the candidates for Ward 1 on the show. We'll talk to him about all sorts of things. But before that, let's go ahead and, talk about the things to talk about. So first of all, I want to get it out of my system that I freaking hate these ankle biter mosquitoes.
Oh boy.
They are out of control. It's an epidemic. I put all the ointments and spray and they don't care. They
just go for it.
Yeah, they just screw it. I don't like this, but I'm going.
You're too tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like seasoning for them. I mean, maybe it's just not working. They've adapted, developed a flavor for it, you know?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. It's kind of fucking me up, you know?
I think.
No wonder. Come back for more the next day. Kind of hungover.
Yeah, it's got blood and sugar and alcohol and THC. This is great. Man, y'all need to try this stuff over there.
Dude, were you at Jose's? Or...
We got so smashed, man.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy, bro.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, that's
tasty.
Yeah, they are eating me alive. So, shout out to all the people that feel my pain. But besides that,
hate
let's
mosquitoes.
Go ahead and talk about the thing that the whole world is talking about right now.
The story.
The top of the top stories. Jump to the top stories. Dylan Thompson. What do you
think? Yeah. Something that I've heard described as ironic, but I'm not sure if that's the right word. I feel like that it's appropriate, which are they're kind of related, but Trump has COVID, of course, and a bunch of people in the government and people that he's close to, including like Chris Christie, Melania Trump, and a dozen other people at this stage. Yeah. So, Kellyanne Conway, right?
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Yeah, but I mean, it's just I can't even speculate on anything. It's so uncertain. Trump has a way of just twisting everything to his advantage, no matter what it is, you know?
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, of course, well, the story is now old, right? So
yeah,
the first news came, what was it, Friday night into Saturday morning that, Trump had COVID. Trump has COVID.
Trump has COVID. Yeah, that was Friday. Okay, right. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, and so but this story has been just crazy going, right? So, you know, so yeah, stocks drop, thoughts and prayers skyrocket. Just gay couples kissing with the hashtag Proud Boys just took off. Like all these things happen, and and then all these people, like you mentioned, started coming down with positive diagnosis of COVID-19. So the most important, of course, being the president. So much so that they even flew the doomsday pilots or doomsday airplanes. Yeah, doomsday launch controversy. Yeah, so this is apparently America's
conspiracy.
America's nuclear doomsday planes, were launched, but they were not supposed to be launched for Donald Trump testing positive, but he just wanted to show force. Hey, it's okay.
I'm so serious,
man. Yeah. This COVID-19's got nothing on me. I'll give it the 1-2 punch, knocking it out, first round.
I wonder if he did that so if he died, he'd just let them go at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because could see him do that. No, but I mean, do you think this is going to be like? I guess there's some controversy, right, with the Democratic Party over this, with Ilhan Omar kind of saying, like, we shouldn't pull any punches while he's sick because he wouldn't afford us any advantage. Like if Biden were to become infected and had to suspend his campaign to go to the hospital,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to. I mean, why haven't we already shown that taking like an honorable path with Trump is no way to deal? I mean, it's not like an argument to be like totally dishonorable, but I mean, it's like it's a courtesy that's not returned. I kind of understand that. I don't really have a problem if someone chose to do that.
Right.
I don't know. What's your take?
Yeah. No. First of all, I don't wish death upon nobody. It's like I thought about it. It's not a question about whether or not I would be happy for him to die. It'd be a matter of whether or not I would be sad if he did. And so I wouldn't be. And really, that's the bigger question is like, what would happen to the country if that were to happen, right?
Yeah, it's unclear.
Politically and just it's just crazy, right? But and another thing that I saw said about this is like, you can't feel bad for a drunken driver, right? Like he literally did this to himself. He exposed hundreds and thousands of people through his big rallies, downplaying the epidemic,
not having masks, saying it's a hoax, all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah, Democratic hoax, came back and bite him in the butt. He's just shown himself to be incredibly reckless. And worst of all, his recklessness has put the lives of people around him in danger. I mean, the moderator from the last debate just excoriated him and the first family for refusing to wear masks, even when asked to wear masks during the. So, I mean, the list goes on and on as far as how just problematic this president has been throughout this pandemic, and how folks are rightfully saying, let's not gloat about the fact that he got it, but really just, as in the SNL skit with Jim Carrey, who played a phenomenal Biden, by the way, and Alec Baldwin as Trump, said like, what if science and karma came together? And, like, I'm not saying it could happen or it should, but what if? And sure enough, I mean, you don't, my people might not believe in God, but you can believe in karma, because that's cause and effect, and that's the rule of the universe. And we were seeing it playing out right here, right now.
Pretty much, yeah. That's why I'm saying it's like appropriate. People are like, oh, how ironic that he had COVID. It's like, what are you talking about? He was doing everything to get COVID. That's what you do to get it. So, and
saying it wasn't real. No, it was absolutely real. You think he's going to say no and cancel rallies and fundraisers? He had a big one in California he had scheduled to come to, and you think he loves those more than his children? No.
Yeah, no. But dude, just like a story reported like 3 or 4 hours ago, he's already saying, don't be afraid of COVID. So it's like, this is like he could just do anything and say anything, and he will have some support in the country.
Yeah, he went on this little, cavalcade with his car, being positive, putting his Secret Service and the driver at risk, because he's supposed to be quarantined. Everybody that, would have it would be asked to just stay in your damn room and don't come out, but no, this guy just refuses to, like, feel like, I really feel like he lay in the hospital bed, like with his, like the little thing that they put on you, the gown, right?
Yeah.
And he felt instantly old and weak. And he's like,
And breezy.
yeah, it's like, and he saw, look death in the eyes. I learned a lot of things. It's much more learning than like book kind of learning. It's like I really went through the ringer, buddy. Like he's still, they put on a ton of makeup, and he had this whole photo op just a couple hours ago, and looking all presidential, and then he's filming this thing as if it's this whole reality TV show, making it seem like, it's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. I have the best medicine. Meanwhile, most of the population that has COVID does not have the experimental, procedures that he has the luxury of, being, the president, having access to the top of the line, medical facilities. And,
right.
That which, of course, he wants to deny through canceling Affordable Care Act. I mean, the president and his supporters are saying, oh, the Democrats, blah, blah, blah. It's like, meanwhile, this man allowed 200,000 people to die because he downplayed a very serious pandemic. So,
and he still is. So nothing learned.
Where was the empathy and compassion for people suffering then? I did not see that much.
At least he's consistent. He still doesn't care.
Yeah. So,
or has no remorse over any of his decisions. It's just like, it's not so bad. See, it's fine. I'm fine. I'm old. I lived through it. You can do it too. That will be the argument. It's like, well, yeah, just like you said, he had the best healthcare in the world. So, but yes, moving on though.
Yeah. The story will be, and last thing on that, this guy is back to work, right? And he's tweeting up a storm. He tweeted like 20 different tweets and
feverishly, if you
minute. Like, ooh, I saw a meme that said, when that morphine kicks in, he's like, ooh. He missed it so much, and he's like, back to work. By work, I mean back to tweet.
Oh man,
back to tweeting, of course.
The tweet tweaker, man.
Commander and tweet at it again. So.
Yep.
All right. Anyways,
that's his real job, really.
Okay. We had a break of a day or two exactly, and now, moving on to our next story.
Moving on. So the Supreme Court got to hear, or we're going to decide to take a case or not. Remember Kim Davis, this Kentucky clerk who was jailed in 2015? She refused to issue a marriage licenses to same-sex couples as like a government official, right? And basically the Supreme Court just like decided to allow this lawsuit to move forward against her, right? And what's scary is that in the dissenting opinion from, I think it's Justice Thomas and Alito that made the comments about basically the Obergefell same-sex marriage decision that was recently done that gave same-sex couples the right to marriage, right? They're basically bashing it and saying like, oh, this is the first sign of you can just ignore. They think this should have been done through the legislature, and that it was like an overreach of the judiciary to interpret the Constitution like this. And so they're saying, oh, now you can just label anyone who doesn't want gay people to get married as bigots, and see, this is what they're going to do to people, railroad them with lawsuits for their religious views, right? But yeah, so I mean, so people are scared, right? Because how many Supreme Court nominees has Trump had?
It's going to be 3 if he gets a third one, right?
Yeah.
Gorsuch, and then Kavanaugh, and now
Right. So, I mean, if our court keeps getting more conservative, these kinds of what are now minority opinions will become the majority, and we may see reversals on even this. And it's 2020. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean that's why the hashtag Stack the Courts is very, very much on the table as far as what can be done to stop some of these things that could be in peril if Trump gets his way, gets his other nominee appointed in time.
Yeah.
Chances are that is going to happen. Although with the COVID situation, the outbreak from the White House, 2 senators have contracted COVID-19, and so I believe there's one, Susan Collins, who said she wouldn't vote for it. So that's 3. So then that means Pence would still be able to cast the
tiebreaker. Yeah.
Yeah. So come on, COVID. You're dead.
Oh my Lord.
Kidding, Jess. But seriously, like, that's one of the things that people were saying, like, oh, I mean, if this becomes a bigger spreading situation, then, the Republicans might not have enough votes to in-person votes, because they can't vote remotely, to make this nomination go through. I mean, gay marriage, pro-life, versus pro-choice question, all these things, DACA, the list goes on. Too many to name. So, but more to come on that. But troubling story about
big time.
Speaking of troubling story, the layoffs of Disneyland. So according to Voice of OC, Disneyland reopening debate intensifies amid threat of layoffs. So Governor Newsom has Disneyland officials are still bargaining with various worker unions over layoffs and coronavirus pandemic safety measures, as pressure to reopen theme parks is mounting, while cities like Anaheim are facing multi-million-dollar deficits. So Governor Newsom has yet to release theme park reopening guidelines, despite him hinting at issuing the guidelines very soon, 4 months. Very soon. So at a Monday news conference, Newsom didn't answer a question from Associated Press reporter on whether the park guidance will be released. Leaving communities behind in order to game your testing and your case rates, I don't think it's right. Our approach is to make sure we are doing justice to our communities, and we are not just gaming the system to paint a rosy picture, Newsom said. So meanwhile, the leisure and hospitality industry, the Disneyland area workers belong to, is facing a 19% unemployment rate across the country. So this is the biggest priority right now is to keep some of those workers employed, says Gloria Alvarado from OC Labor Federation, so executive director. So Disneyland announces laying off 28,000 workers. And so this is, and Alvarado said nearly 6,000 of those layoffs will be at Disneyland Resort area employees. It's really, it's the irony, right now, the mayor of Anaheim, Mayor Sidhu, wants to open up Disneyland, right? Like he's knocking at the door and he's like, Newsom, open the door, and people are, meanwhile, he won't open the door for city council meetings so that the residents could tell him what a piece of crap he is and how horrible, of job he's done during COVID, and how corrupt he's been at gifting his friends millions of dollars, to a special, special interest groups that supported him. So, man, and of course, the Angels deal got a second vote, which I believe finalizes it, right? We'll talk more about the Angels deal in a future show, but all to say that Disneyland, Anaheim, work, and are trying to figure this out, because workers are struggling, they're getting laid off, but at the same time, it's not safe yet, and we know that Disneyland were to open, and it would be really difficult to really practice social distancing. And
but it's funny. Like, I almost feel like, two observations about the story. One is that this is like one of those intersections of progressive issues where two progressive values clash. Like, the want is that we should have jobs, right, and work, but the other is that we need health, so we can't do the certain jobs, right? So, but now, like, this article is kind of making a dichotomy where it's like either the park opens and people keep their jobs and can feed themselves, or it doesn't and you lose thousands of more jobs, right? But it's funny because, like, we don't even think about that the federal government and, like, the incredibly rich nation we have could do a lot more to bail us out. Like, when all the corporations make horrible crimes and wreck the economy, they get bailed out to the tune of trillions of dollars, and everything's peachy keen. But when ordinary working people need something, they don't. And then you have stories like this that set up this dichotomy that makes it look like they're bad because they don't support jobs. So, right, it's a weird kind of situation.
Right. Yeah. And it's the whole thing, right? There's just been this mounting displeasure and saying Newsom is a fascist and have little pictures with the Hitler thing. I'm like, really, that's a little extreme, but the way that this cuts down to between Republicans and Democrats is also interesting, because it's easy to scapegoat Newsom if you're a Republican, right? It's like, oh yeah, them and their stringent, restrictions are destroying our businesses. It's like, why would he want to do that? He wants businesses and economy to thrive. Like, you think if he didn't, if he wanted to, he could. Although I will say, like, the critiques around the haziness and the lack of forthcomingness on the different tiers and what is available, what's not, and how some things are allowed and some things aren't, and it doesn't really make sense. Like, like buses to me still are like a petri dish of the coronavirus. I would not ride one, but they're allowed, but meanwhile, but
is there ventilation or something
for a while? But then they wouldn't let businesses, like small businesses open. Like, how does that make sense? Right? So
yeah, it's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird, and so people are. There are going to be a lot of decisions that are going to make a lot of people unhappy, sadly. But I mean, yeah. Okay. Can we bail out the American people, please?
Please bail us out.
Oh no, they're busy shipping trillions overseas into tax havens. It's fine. It's fine. That's how the world works. Let's accept it. Let's blame this guy for not giving us jobs. But anyway, moving on to a more hopeful story. Hope. Okay, so yeah, it's interesting. There's a story that talks about a wave of thousands of strikes that has rippled across the nation amid the COVID breakout, right? And this article kind of says that between March and May, maybe there's like 200, 300 strikes, and specifically the vast majority of these strikes would be wildcat strikes, ones that weren't organized by a particular, like a larger union, but more like ad hoc committee set up by the rank and file workers. That's interesting. But then between May and like September, 700 wildcat strikes in the country. And this is a lot of factors are going into it, right? Like there's the whole BLM, defund the police kind of protest movement going out there that's pushing this the scene of a lot of protests, right? And then also with COVID, a lot of workers are being forced, and like the frontline workers are being forced into a difficult situation. They want better compensation for the dangers that they're exposed to, and it's because a lack of these benefits. Again, you know what I'm saying? For this entire time, when the biggest corporations in this country have been benefiting from the labor of our working class for decades and making themselves rich, when we need a bailout, when the goose that lays the golden egg is at stake, they'll let it die before they, I hope they wouldn't, but maybe it's not extreme enough, but like they can't throw us a bone. Like the labor of this country is the very wellspring of their fortunes, right? So would they really let it dry up just for their own vanity and their libertarian pursuit of I don't know. I
like this energy tonight, Dylan.
Oh my God.
Yeah, keep it coming. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said libertarian like that. I apologize to our previous guest, but you know what I'm trying to say. Laissez-faire capitalism. Yeah. Let's say that.
I agree. I think the good thing that's coming from this is that people are starting to realize just how much the corporations don't give a damn about them, and it's not as extreme as everybody being at risk of COVID. It's as simple as you not being able to take a sick day, you not being able to get health care because corporations are depreciating your value as a worker. They give a shit about you, and they will pay you as little as they can, and they will work you as much as they can, so that up to the hour where they don't have to give you benefits. And corporations like Walmart, Amazon, and so many others just take advantage of a broken system, and then they don't pay taxes like Trump. So and taxpayers get to subsidize that or Medicare, Medi-Cal systems, food stamps, and so on. So you want to cut down on these safety net programs, these moocher programs, right? Like what do they call it?
welfare queens and
entitlement programs.
Oh, entitlements, yeah.
And stop freaking giving these corporations, these tax cuts, and start regulating them so that they pay their employees fair wages. And I'll end by saying, vote no on Prop 22, right? That's the one for Uber and Lyft drivers. Screw them. Screw Uber and Lyft. Anyways, yeah.
Very good.
Very good.
Well
and
said.
moving on to our last story, and segue into our awesome guest here tonight. This one is appropriate. So
Another appropriate one.
appropriate story. This Orange County company has gone from making hair look cool to fighting coronavirus. In Santana, the corporate history of Suavecito Incorporated is told from the hood to City Hall like a barrio fable. This is according to newsbreak.com, by the way. Brothers Pete and Tony Adame grew up with their pal Jaybird in the rough Santanita neighborhood during the 1990s when the streets were hot. Hot. Yeah, they were hot, true. But they all came out okay and got blue-collar jobs, machinist, line cook, chipotle burrito wrapper, that they figured were their destiny. This story is what actually came out originally in the LA Times. So, and then Pete Adame lost his job in 2009 as a result of the Great Recession with a $1,000 severance check. He told the guys it was time to turn their hobby, sweet scented hair pomade, they mixed in 5-gallon Home Depot buckets and gave it to their friends in sandwich bags and Tupperware into a business. Pomade named Suavecito, literally smooth in Spanish, but akin to the Hepcat in Chicano Spanish, became a worldwide sensation. Last year, the company produced more than 6 million 4-ounce cans of their pomade. Baseball superstars like Bryce Harper is a fan, along with Social D, frontman Mike Ness, and Mexican regional music legend Banda El Recodo. And the story goes on to say that the 34-year-old Pete is Suavecito's chief executive, and 31-year-old Tony is CFO, and Jaybird is the executive secretary. But due to this crisis, they were able to, for the first run 10,000 of 1 and 8 ounce bottles sold in 7 minutes with just one Instagram post. So they are, in the moment where COVID was a situation and there was shortages in, the hand sanitizers everywhere. You couldn't get hand sanitizer. You couldn't get. I still can't get Lysol. Toilet paper. It was, it was crazy, but yeah, Suavecito turned their business around, as many businesses did, to address the situation.
Wartime economy.
Yeah, akin to the World War, 1 and 2 situations, because truly this has been a war. And so with that, I want to bring on to the show our guest for tonight, Mr. Tony Adame. Go ahead and unmute yourself and show your camera, good sir.
All good?
Yeah.
Hey.
All right, thank you.
Tony Adame was born and raised in Santanita neighborhood from humble beginnings, where he spent most of his volunteering and participating in youth programs at the community center. Tony has since started multiple businesses in Santana, employing about 100 people, and he serves as CFO of Suavecito, as mentioned. Opportunities in the city gave him to succeed as a kid are no longer available to today's youth, and as an entrepreneur and philanthropist, Tony believes he is in a unique position to inspire and be a champion for our youth and underserved communities. Thank you for joining us tonight, Tony.
Yeah, thank you guys for this public service of sorts, hosting this sort of show, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Dylan S. Thompson and my buddy Jose, fighting for what's good here. So no, thank you guys.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's where this platform is open for any and all candidates that reach out. So it's really important, to give that platform. And I know Dylan was worked with y'all when you had the debate, right? And the team, or not the forum.
The forum, and he had to jump in there for a second when Norberto was having a bit of trouble in his garage. I think.
Yeah, I wasn't actually ready for that.
I could tell you weren't ready, but
yeah,
did a decent enough job.
Made the best of it.
The questions. Yeah,
appreciate that. Well,
Go ahead.
I feel like this is my place to be more biased than that. So I like having a little.
You can be yourself now or something.
Oh, I can have political views on this program.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah. That's a different context, but yes, got a taste of each.
Well, there's no one to fire you from this job, I think. So I think you're.
Oh,
Jose can't.
Oh wait,
Jose would never. Right?
This is awkward.
Yeah, I'm not sure you guys are partners.
Yeah.
Actually, this is his last show today. So.
Yeah, it's weird you mentioned that. I'm being replaced by robot Matt Cedillo. No, I know. Oh. We will continue at least episode 200, which is coming up soon.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, man. Hey, so Tony, you I read a little bit about your bio, but I mean, I more than the bio of who you became. I guess a little bit more detail as far as like what it was like growing up in Santana, and how you really are present yourself and are a success story for as much of crap that that people outside of Santana talk about our city and say like, oh, like don't go into that dark area,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I know even now some people doubt the fact that Suavecito is even from Santa Ana. I think it's sad because we, for better or worse, we sort of did this disservice to ourselves where me and my brother and Jaber, like you mentioned, we kind of hid ourselves in the background quite a bit, and we wanted to be kind of really low key with the company. And I think made the mistake of not knowing or not wanting people to know who we were. We wanted the company to sort of represent itself a little bit. And so that led itself to a lot of problems in the sense that, especially the first like 5 years in business, we've been in business now for 10 years. There was rumors that we were from Newport Beach. We got accused of gentrification, all kinds of stuff. And then we kind of started trying to make our story a little more known. And obviously this campaign now is the most public thing that any of us have ever done. In fact, I was just joking with Dylan. I don't think I've ever heard myself speak for more than 15 or 20 minutes or so. So this is new for me, and the whole process is new for me. So I appreciate the platform, and going along with that, with the way that, we kind of grew up here in Santa Ana, and the experiences that we had are really what's driving me, and even, I had to make sure that my brother Pete and our other business partner Jason, who was our neighbor growing up, were okay with me running, because there's obviously some effects that it could have on our businesses and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's worth fighting for what we believe in, and so we're taking that chance. But I grew up here in Santa Anita Park, or Santa Anita neighborhood in Santa Anita Park. I was born in 1988. I have 5 brothers, and my mom and my dad were immigrants from Jalisco, and we grew up. We were born in a small apartment here on Susan Street. It used to be called Harper, but because there was so much crime on that street, the police calls would go out, and on the police call, apparently they were always confused whether it was Harbor or Harper. So they would send the police to like the wrong part of the city to try to solve things, and they changed the name to Susan. But I grew up there, and it was a really weird situation, because when we grew up in a small little apartment, and my cousin owned the apartment complex. But now the apartment complex was just like 3 units, but she owned the 3 units. And I remember every time that my mom would have another kid, the rent would go up $100. I guess that was like the fee that our own cousin kind of imposed on us. And so my mom had stories of us, or I guess of her hiding her pregnancy for as long as she could, because she knew that the rent would go up $100 for every kid that she had. So that eventually we moved across the street to Gunther Street, where we grew up mainly. I moved there when I was 6 years old. But being the way that we were, my dad was a mesero at a restaurant, and we basically were raised on his single source of income. So we did a bunch of crazy things to get by when we were kids, like collecting cans and things like that. And
yeah, me too.
And it was really weird. My dad worked at a seafood restaurant, and so like we'd go help him at the end of the night to like separate the cans from all the like marisco crap that was intermixed with everything. And we made weekends out of going around to like something at the park and parts of the neighborhood to pick up things. And so, it wasn't easy for us. And as you mentioned, Santa Anita in the 90s was a pretty rough neighborhood. We had the gang injunctions there, and to our grace a little bit, we me and all my brothers, we never got involved with drugs or gangs. We kind of stayed away from all that stuff. And so our family personally wasn't affected by the gang injunctions, but we saw our neighbors and our friends get kind of torn apart a little bit about the raids that they would have on people's houses and things like that. And so it affected us in that way. But we were fortunate that the community center that we had growing up was really lively. There was a lot of kids there, and there was a lot of programs that we took advantage of, like after school programs and youth sports. And we had a pool, obviously in our hood, there's no pool. The only pool that we all kind of shared was the community pool. And so it's not like different parts of Santa Ana where every other house has a pool. So we rely heavily on that.
Damn, you're like Sandlot.
Yeah, basically, you're like jumping fences to try to get into places. But yeah, so we had that kind of struggle growing up, and it's sad to see now that a lot of those programs are gone. And it's funny because people nowadays, they blame it on social media and like video games and stuff. The reason why kids don't go out anymore and participate in those sorts of things. But I mean, we had Nintendo 64 growing up too. You know what I mean? And I don't know what you guys had growing up, but we that didn't keep us.
Sega Genesis.
Sega. Yeah. So that didn't keep us from like going to the park and participating in things like that. And we volunteered long hours to be able to afford, because with having so many kids, even $1 a day to go into the pool was too much for us. And so I think there's a lot of things worth fighting for. And to me, the root of a lot of the problems that the city has today, it goes back to our neighborhoods, and it goes back to our community centers, and it goes back to the access of resources that we bestow upon our neighbors and our residents. And a lot of that stuff leads to crime and homelessness and drug abuse, and not having that stuff, leads to these sorts of problems. And obviously it carries over to other things, other parts of the city, and then by the time that it develops into a big problem, our city and our police department's kind of playing a game of whack-a-mole a little bit, trying to, obviously when there's that saying when, when something's a hammer, everything looks like a nail, you know what I mean? And so we have these problems. And so that's my background a little bit. Obviously later on, we went on to start companies from nothing. And, we didn't have necessarily the experience, and none of us came from money or anything like that. And in fact, Suavecito, we wanted to open up a hot dog restaurant was originally the idea. And we were making hair pomade for fun and just giving it away to our friends and family. And I remember we used to go to business banks to try to get loans, and they used to just kind of laugh at us. But we had a cool, like really good business plan for the hot dog restaurant, and they all loved it. But, we didn't have equity to put down and to sign for a loan. And we didn't even know what equity was back then. And
I still don't know.
Yeah, maybe I don't really know.
Working on it, yeah.
But yeah, you have to have money it's a crazy thing, right? So you think, I'm going to go to the bank to try to get a loan for this business that I want to start because I don't have money. That's why, why I need the loan. And then they start asking, okay, cool. So do you want to, you have to guarantee the loan with the house, or you have to guarantee the loan with someone's, income or something like that. And that's the reason why we were there in the first place. And so we didn't have that. So we started selling hair pomade out of our trunks, basically. And then
there was no GoFundMe back then, or
nah, that'd be nice though,
Probably not,
yeah, that'd be nice. But I know there's a lot of, and it's crazy sometimes you see those GoFundMes and they kind of get carried away, and sometimes the the things they're funding aren't even very, like, it's not like it's going to do good for society or anything like that. They're just, some guy wants to invent, like a drone that's powered by something, I don't know. But anyway, it's
coal-powered drone.
Yeah, coal-powered drone. And just because, the internet catches on to just certain like stupid things sometimes, like they get the funding. But
oh yeah, people put their GoFundMes for all sorts of things. But all to say, like, and I think what I'm gathering from your story is that it was really it was really hard, and it is really hard still for for potential entrepreneurs in Santana, within our youth, right, within our communities, to be able to do these things, but through one way or another, through learning, and you were able to build what is now, in fact, an international company, right? You are selling your product around the world now, and it's really remarkable to how you do.
Yeah, thank you. And I think at the end, our chances for success were very slim as it was. We like I said, we didn't have resources and things, and it's scary to think now that, kids now have even less resources than we had growing up. What chances will they ever have to, and it's not just about entrepreneurship, it's just success, like in the sense of like owning your own home, or just like earning a living wage, or being able to afford to put food on the table in a lot of cases. And, we see it. We see that families are struggling like never before. And it's, there's got to be a root somewhere, it's not like these things just happen overnight. It's a gradual thing that has happened, and we've seen it happen. And so,
needs to be healed. And I mean, you did mention how you didn't get involved in gangs and stuff. And I mean, resources can provide opportunities for people to have different things to do, perhaps, and maybe they don't have to resort to being involved in gangs, for instance. And maybe we can go back and hit a little bit more on the business stuff, just because I know you probably have a good amount of experience running a business in Santa Ana. Like when you started hitting your critical mass with selling your pomade and stuff, I mean, you got like more official at some point, right? And I mean, are there like I've heard a lot of rumors about like a lot of red tape at City Hall regarding like business licenses and all these things. Can you tell us a bit about your experience there?
Well, for one, it's very confusing. You know, the process is very confusing and it's very like inaccessible. And so, you know, when we first started our business, we did it like I said, from like the trunk of our car. And so we went forever without getting, I don't know if I'll get in trouble for this, but we went for a long time, for like a year or so without having a business license. You know, we were just selling, you know, like anyone would at a swap meet or something like that. Even though at a swap meet you do have to have a business license too, which is crazy because my brother used to sell at a swap meet and the process that he had to go through was insane. Like it was whatever. But you know, there is a lot of red tape in Santa Ana, and a lot of people are shy to want to do business in Santa Ana because of the stories that you hear. Right. Anaheim, for instance, you know, their whole process for applying for a business license and being able to get into business is 100% online. And so online, it's you have to make sure that it's easy to navigate. Yeah. But also there's, you know, you can make sure that there's translations for Spanish, Vietnamese, or anything like that. And so it makes it easier and obviously more efficient, you know, and it's less daunting of an experience to just do it online, as opposed to having to go into City Hall. And then even you go into City Hall and it's confusing, you're driving in circles, you don't know where to go. And then you go into City Hall and it's even more confusing. They send you from window to window and they have you fill out a bunch of paperwork that in a lot of times it's redundant. And outdated for sure. And so like, I can't imagine, you know, somebody that doesn't speak English trying to have to go through that process. I mean, it'd be scary, you know, and for people that have family members that have businesses, I'm sure it's a lot easier because they can kind of help them navigate those waters. But for people that want to try to start a business for the first time, it's not easy and it's expensive. And there's no reason why Santa Ana shouldn't be, you know, giving like a no fee, you know, waiver for people that are starting their first business legitimately. You know, it's discouraging, I think, you know, and we've started multiple businesses here in Santa Ana and we still play the game where like, we started pointing at each other and be like, hey, it's your turn to go to City Hall because it's a night. You know?
Like, we're going to spend hours there. The staff knows us like, hey, Tony, how's it going?
Yeah. And it's seen people there like, we've seen people there that are trying to communicate with the person at the window, and sometimes we'll kind of jump in and try to help people just because it's you know, daunting. But
yeah, man. Yeah. Well, so was that one of the reasons why, or what was, in fact, you know, like who or what inspired you to jump in and try to fix what many would say is the unfixable, balancing our budget, streamlining, you know, business license and improving the quality of life of youth, residents, and all people in Santa Ana, which has been struggling for many years on all fronts that I mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. And I, you know, I know that, you know, our story, as often as we can tell it, it's an inspiring story, especially being that we're truly homegrown and we're like Santa Ana based and that sort of stuff. And so, you know, through our time, we've been afforded, you know, the luxury of being able to, you know, go to youth programs and donate to youth programs. And we do a lot of speaking engagements in high schools all over Santa Ana, which ironically enough, we haven't been invited to do it at our alma mater, Los Amigos, for some reason. They haven't like asked us, but like every other high school in Santa Ana has asked us and we've pretty much done it every time. But there's this well, maybe my brother, but not so much me. But you know, we know that Santa Ana stigma, both politically, you know, being ran by certain circles, but also, you know, not being the most inspirational place to grow up in. And so we've done what we can to try to inspire people around us to show them an example of what, could be done, like with the best of what Santa Ana has to offer here. But at the same time, we know that politics in Santa Ana has been sort of ran by the same kind of circle of people, and it's discouraging. And even in my race, the people that are running, have been sort of part of that circle in a lot of ways. And they've been in one way or another kind of influenced by the same, powers that be, as you might say. But at the same time, those people, they don't realize that I speak very casually and I'm not very articulate maybe at times. But at the end of the day, to me, that's when you walk, the streets of Ward 1, that's how we talk, and I'm trying to be representative of where I come from. I'm not trying to be someone that, or make myself out to be like someone that I'm not, because at the end of the day, that's not what will inspire people. I think people want to see someone in a position of power that looks and talks like them and has the same background. I mean, essentially, that's what democracy should be, which in the end, I think is rightful for why, we're having these ward-specific elections. We left that at-large system of voting, which is, I think, a great thing. And so I want to be truly representative of the people that live in that part of Santa Ana. And there's this, even, West Side Santa Ana is known as one of the rougher parts of Santa Ana. And I want people to know that, someone like me or someone like my family, my brothers, whoever can succeed out of those dire. And it's the reason why, even my political signs look a little funny because I put my face on it. I just figure that I want people to know who I am. You walk down that part of Santa Ana and you ask people, first of all, most people might not even know what a council member is or what they do or what they're responsible for. And then on top of that, they don't know who their name is. Most people don't even know who the mayor is, who the mayor's name is. And he's been in office for, I gotta watch about a cuss, but they've been in office for 26 years. So I think this is his 26th.
Yeah.
And so I want people in that part of the city to know, oh yeah, the guy from Suavecito represents me. If I need something, I know where to find him, and also I know what he looks like. So if he's walking down the street, if he's having lunch somewhere, like I can go up and talk to him, and that sort of thing. And so I think that's important, and I think the city's ready for that. Obviously the city's ready for change. The mayor's gonna, there's no choice this time around. There's going to be a new mayor.
Yes.
Which works. So, I feel like that kind of change is what we need,
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree. Definitely need people-powered representation.
Yeah.
The council.
So stoked that the Pulido's gone. Counting down the days. Jeez.
Well, it's nuts, because there was, think about all the good candidates that ran against him. And by how small the margin he's been losing, like it's incredible that he's even been able to hang on that far. But it goes to show, that, there's power in a very small group of hands, and it doesn't matter how strong, the people seem to want to fight back. It's a very strong force to try to counter. And so, and that's a part of my campaign also is the fact that, I'm trying to self-fund most of it, and all the funding that I'm getting are mainly from my friends and family and people that I've legitimately done business with through the years that I've sort of seen us grow. I didn't seek out endorsements or things like that, and I'm not getting funding from, I guess, the typical places where people get funding from.
Speaking of the typical places, I mean, do we know if you haven't received that POA endorsement or in the Ward 1, right?
No, we haven't, and I think there's speculation, I suppose, but there's also usually an invitation to go get interviewed and things like that for it. I haven't been interviewed, but I should say that we're very supportive of the police, and we've been vocal about that. Here in Santa Ana. In fact, today I was just even mentioning just a bit ago, I had to call the police myself. My Toyota got broken into last night, and so I had to call to get a police report. And they were, to be fair, they were there very quickly, and they were there to help. And it was an enjoyable experience. But I don't know where they're going to be putting their effort or at all if they will be. But
Yeah, but like, would you even want an endorsement from the POA or like?
No, I mean, I think if I wanted it, I would have interviewed for it. I just didn't feel like I needed it. I truly want to be in a position where, I want to win without the help of the typical like outside forces for one. But I also want to win in a way that is like truly representative of who I am and who I think the type of person that lives in that ward. And so, I don't get bothered by the fact that maybe like our campaign style is kind of unorthodox a little bit or isn't typical of what you're used to seeing. Yeah, so no, I'm not looking for that endorsement. So the long answer.
The long and short of it.
Yeah.
But it's mainly because of the union's activity and being involved in maybe some not so great policies in the past. For maybe the firing of the police chief and the city manager, they had some part. And is that why? Or
yeah, I mean, obviously it's been really questionable, and there's also just the understanding of how much control they have on the city council right now is scary to me a little bit. And I know that, some people need the funding in order to win, you know what I mean? And they kind of just bite the bullet a little bit, so to speak. And I guess that's probably a bad analogy considering what we're talking about, but they bite the bullet and they take the endorsement despite their values, you know what I mean? And I know that there's a lot of issues in the police department, and I know that reform is difficult, with how much control they have on the city council. And I know that reform is needed, and it's not just one of those things that is trending right now, and which is why we need it because it's a trending topic. I've seen the police at their worst. I feel like with the injunctions, that I grew up with. Again, that's not to say that I've used their resources and they've helped me in situations, and it's not to say that that they don't serve a purpose. I just think that there's obviously a need for true reform. In that environment and that in that part of the business, that part of our city, and at the end of the day, they're city employees, and you can't forget that they work for us, and whatever's indicative of our community, our needs to be reflected on the police officer's mission. So
yeah, and I think that's I think most of the community, if you ask them, in Santana, it's like, do you want to get rid of the police? They'd be like, no, hell no. I got like meth dudes over here, neighbors. I got, I'm constantly fighting with my, neighbors about this and that. Like, there's just different things that they would like to, I mean, my car got broken into. That thing happens all the time, right? Like, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. Good stories.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you live in a rough part of town, apparently. Yeah.
Well, we live by the riverbed, and that's like a big thing for us, like the riverbed
into Floral Park. I see.
Well, we live by the riverbed, and it's known in the riverbed or around here by the riverbed that there's a bunch of camping going on there, and I don't know. I mean, usually I wouldn't even call the police, and I think that's the really terrible thing about like people like in my community is that a lot of crimes go unanswered or noticed because people don't trust the police or the police don't come quick enough or they don't think that the police are going to really do anything about it or
they're undocumented and they're scared
or they're scared and that goes with the whole trust thing
right.
And so even in my situation there's been times where my car has gotten broken into where I don't call the police because there wasn't they took my CD deck or something like that. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like,
I remember like meeting people that said like, "Oh, I just leave my car on or my car like unlocked because I'm like, if they're gonna go in there, like go in there, just don't bust my window, bro." Like,
I've heard that.
It'll be more expensive than anything that you could possibly steal from inside.
Yeah, and I've actually heard that before. That leaving your car down is more of a deterrent in Santa Ana because it means that you just ran inside to get something real quick, and so like no one's gonna like go in there and try to break, try to take anything because the appearance is that he'll be right back or something. But
okay, well, I want to
interesting tactic. I'm gonna try it.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go into lightning round.
Lightning round.
Yeah, you're used to
Back at the debate stage.
I know. Yeah, I thought this.
Yeah.
I thought this was over.
Yeah, it's an ambush. Sorry.
Sorry, I have a hard stop at 10 o'clock, guys. This is
Shoot, that's 3 minutes.
just yeah, no,
Okay, I hope not.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
No. Like I want to get these in here real
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
There's a lot of things. Obviously, I mean, you answered the POA stuff. I mean, we could talk on and on about that, but it is clear that they are the biggest special interest in the city. So, people want good policing, but do not want a special, the special interests overrun City Hall, with the needs of one group coming at the expense of others. I think would be fair.
Well said.
To surmise, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that's what I feel reasonable. Folks in the community, come at the issue about it. But so like on the issue of rent control and the housing opportunity ordinance, right? So, these are important issues of our community, and I believe you've said that you're in support of rent control, at least on the Voice of OC and such. And, and other folks have said that they're in favor of subsidies or they're not in favor of rent control. So this is a divisive issue. And it was even divisive before when, it came up to the council for them to vote. And I believe every single one of the council members at that time voted against it. Even while I believe in the last signature gathering drive, thousands and thousands of people signed on for this, and still they were unable to put it on the ballot. So, why do you support it, and is your approach to the issue of housing and something?
So I'll try to make it quick, since you said there's
No, we don't have a hard stop. I was just
okay.
Yeah.
And just in reference to those signature gatherers, I think, it seems unimaginable that they didn't afford them the time to just keep collecting signatures despite the pandemic. That's the core of our democracy, right? Is to be able to collect signatures to put forth an initiative.
Right.
And all they were asking for was just time. The most reasonable thing. And maybe they give them the time and they still can't collect the signatures, so be it. But that seemed really insane to me. And so on the issue of rent control, I've obviously lived through situations, as I was mentioning earlier, where there was, unorthodox methods of raising the rent on me and my family. And so there is a need for it. And I know that, my dad, when we grew up and my dad bought the house that we live in now, my mom included, 1995, the house was worth $100,000 and minimum wage was about $6 an hour. And now that house is worth 5 times as much. And wages obviously have not grown 5 times as much. It's grown maybe twice, 3 if you consider minimum wage now. But, you have to imagine that, there are some people that are against rent control that might own 1 or 2 houses in Santa Ana, and they're on the lower spectrum of what you would consider people that, I guess, landlords. And so, the rent control aspect is a little tough on them because in some cases, they rely on that income as their only source of income. Whereas I think the big opponents of rent control are the big developers that are, renting out tens or hundreds of units. And so I think there's a balance that could be struck with initiating some kind of rent control. And obviously right now the Prop 21 thing is happening. That's going to expand the city's ability to impose rent control if they need be. Working with those types of homeowners and striking a balance with creating a program that's not going to hurt them too hard, hopefully, but also, give rights to our residents that do rent, which obviously our city is almost 50% renters or something like that. And so there has to be some kind of balance with that. So yeah, it's a touchy subject, I know, because people are, they're on both sides of the fence about it. But, when it comes to that, it's,
kind of like a devil's in the details.
And it really is.
Yeah, a little bit. And
it'd be fair to say that, folks have like maybe an incomplete understanding about what rent control is and isn't. And
sounds scary,
It does, yeah. And to people that own their units, I mean, it does. It's like, man, I'm barely cutting it, but it's like for the most part, a lot what it really comes down to is these big corporations that buy up big portions of apartments and then systematically start doing these things. So yeah, I mean, I think for and also rent control, as was mentioned in the chat, rent control is not rent decrease or rent freeze. It's control to protect families like yours from going up too high. And that's what we're seeing. I mean, in Anaheim, I saw, rents being raised in mobile home complexes by $500 from 1 month to the next. Seniors on fixed incomes, on Social Security and pensions, they're not going to come up with that money. You're in fact displacing them, and the corporations and these greedy owners don't give a damn. And
yeah, and it goes hand in hand with the that housing ordinance you just mentioned also in the question. Obviously, as I mentioned, also the price of housing is crazy high. It's obviously because there's a shortage of available housing options, and so clearly, like supply and demand, basic 101, like supply goes down, then the demand goes up, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so housing prices are skyrocketing, and because of that, some of these people that do own homes, like 1 or 2 homes that rent them out, their mortgages are going up or things like that. And so it all goes hand in hand. They're having to raise rent because the pricing of the house that they bought to rent went up. And so it's just this vicious circle. And people seem to think again that you can just solve a problem by, whacking it here and there. And the whole in lieu fee issue that was sort of waived by our city council is one of those very temporary fixes. They say it's because they're trying to promote development in the city, but we know that if there's no control or some level of control with the type of housing that gets developed, then a business is going to act like a business, and they're going to try to look at their bottom dollar and try to maximize their investment. But we need developers to know that the city has its needs here, and I know there's some kind of ordinance at the state level where there's a requirement for how much affordable housing needs to be developed within the city, and there's some council members even now that justified voting against that, or voting to diminish that HOO. And they're using other cities as an example and saying that we're above the quota, but you have to understand that it's a statewide quota that's put on each city. But obviously not all cities are the same. Our needs are not the same as Anaheim or Costa Mesa or Huntington Beach or any other surrounding city, so our needs have to be unique, our policies have to be unique to our needs here in our own city. So it's not very justified to try to use someone else, another city, as an example for the problems that we have and we're trying to fix.
Yeah, agreed, absolutely. I think there's talking points and not really good ones, and really when it comes down to it, it's realtors and apartment owners, associations that just have so much money. I mean, look at how much money is being spent. It's ridiculous. The amount of money that is being spent on whether it's on the dialysis proposition by DaVita and all these corporations, on the Prop 21 that you just mentioned, on Prop 22 by Uber, Lyft, and was it Grubhub? Like, it's just, and then and the most money by Uber and Lyft on this one, just thousands and millions of dollars are being spent in a disinformation campaign, and mostly it's scare tactics. But
and I've gotten the text messages from Uber. I mean, it's like,
dude, yeah, if you ride Uber, they'll put it right in your face, like like, you got to do this almost, or you get no ride.
Wow.
So no, it's a crazy, and I think also for as you mentioned, the housing opportunity ordinance, and people that would speak against that and say like, well, we're already way above, but when it comes down to it, it's on the city specific level and where we've needed to be and where we are at now, we're not where we need to be. And I hate when corporations take advantage, and developers, and they always do. And of course, they're going to during a pandemic to be able to ease up more restrictions, where this was a damn compromise. And I they say it's temporary. I highly doubt that. They want to keep it permanent. So that's a bad faith argument. What were you saying, Dylan? You were going to say?
Yeah, I'd definitely say probably the case. I was just curious about, I mean, like Willowick, like there's a big question going on right how it could be used. That's pretty much right above, that's in the Santa Anita neighborhood, right?
Yeah, it's in Ward 1. But it's weird because of the way, they got everything remapped. They sort of sliced it into Ward 1. And so for whatever reason, it got excluded from Ward 5. But
Well, there's a reason, buddy.
There's, somewhere.
I just haven't dug into it well enough.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But that's our back. Yeah, I mean, Jeremy. But I don't know. Anyway, there's got to be. I don't know why yet. I guess we'll find out.
All right.
We're gonna look into it.
But, there's that like the Rise of Willowick, people, and they're doing like a really great job of like bringing things to light. And I'm not sure that they've answered that question out of curiosity. I know that they're doing a really good job of making public, who the developers are, that the players, I guess. And they have this like really funny like Pokemon analogy that they sort of use to show who the developers are that are negotiating with Garden Grove right now to see who buys the land. But they're doing a good job of shining light on it. But there's also this argument that people have for Willowick, which I don't agree with, being that if you develop, let's say that's a lot of affordable housing and open space in that area, that it's going to weigh heavily on the resources that Santa Ana has, because Santa Ana is still going to be responsible for policing the area, giving utilities to the area and things like that. And so, and I guess the city of Santa Ana and Garden Grove have a split on the income that's going to be coming in through taxes and things like that for whatever gets developed on that land. But I don't feel like it's justified. At the end of the day, the neighbors that live around there, it's still their backyard, regardless of who owns the land or who services the land. It's not that's a decision that wasn't maybe made with their consideration. But there's also a lot of environmental impacts that could happen with what gets developed on that land. And so that just goes with like air quality and traffic and things like that. But at the end of the day, regardless of who owns the land, people in that part of the city need to have a say in what gets built there. But also we need to be sensitive with the fact that that part of Santa Ana and that part of that ward specifically are one of the more highly impacted parts of the city as far as how much people spend on their housing versus what their wages are. It's like over 50%, which is, so I guess people there spend more than 50% of what they earn to put a roof over their head, which is incredible. But and so and there's even one guy that's running for my ward even that's saying that we should keep it a golf course, which I don't understand, but I don't
I hate that.
Better golf course.
I drove by it the other day and I'm just like, God, I hate these people. Like, and I'm like, I know hate is a strong word, but more I'm saying this is a lot of freaking land for you to drive your little car, like looking with your cute little like hat and, your golf shoes and your get up. And meanwhile, people are like living like sardines, literally right next to you. Sorry. Right. I'm getting a little heated on it.
Maybe there was a time, maybe there was a time when, golfing was a big thing around there or something, or maybe there was a time when, a lot of people went to golf there and they partook in the businesses around there. And, there was like a little economy going there, but that's over, the people that come golf there from out of town and they, they're not spending money in Santa Ana besides, the $1 for a bucket of balls or whatever it is, and then it's just,
go to Mouse Guard Park. Dang it.
I mean, we have Riverview, right? That golf course. And then there's, Santa Ana Country Club has a golf course, which is
Irvine has a bunch. Newport, Huntington, Laguna Beach. Like
they're not rare, I guess.
We don't need it. I mean,
I'm not going to see, Dylan anytime there soon, teeing off or whatever.
No, I go to South County.
I go to miniature golfing, bro. That's what I love golfing.
Miniature
golfing might get tough because one of the Boomers just closed down, and so there goes I think Fountain Valley Boomers.
Okay, Boomer. Yeah.
I used to work at Boomers. That was like one of my first like official real jobs.
That does sound like a fun job that I might even want to have now, just for a week.
It was fun, but I'm shocked at how much responsibility they handed us as 16-year-olds.
They repair this windmill,
yeah, no, they'd have us
furry.
Scale walls and it was insane.
Pretty sure it was illegal. Now that I think, child endangerment, I tell you.
It was insane.
Oh, that's great.
I want to ask one final, maybe perhaps tough question on this. So there's an issue of district elections. As you mentioned earlier, I fought for it personally. And Pulido beat us in the POA because they literally ran out the clock. Pulido refused to sign district elections to be put into place. We should have had it the last election, but we didn't because he literally ran out the clock. And and so that was that, because him and his lawyers, they were able to know the rules of the game and push the envelope. It's really terrifying or tragic. So the issue is around, the engagement and involvement of ethnic communities that are underrepresented or in fact completely disenfranchised, as it was in the case of Latinos in Anaheim. That is not the case in Santana, where there is all Latino city council currently, and there has been for many years now. But Vietnamese are a community that have not had a representation ever on the city council. So that was the argument, and that was the lawsuit, the litigation that was put to force Santana towards district election.
Right.
So it was created in order to allow for a Vietnamese voice or Vietnamese representative to be on the council. So if you were to win, then that would deny a Vietnamese and which is what the spirit of the law was. So
right.
What would you say to folks that would say why not allow a Vietnamese person to run, or why
Right. And so obviously I as I mentioned earlier, I'm glad that we have the system now in place. I think that the old system was obviously antiquated and created issues like you're mentioning now, where there's a big disenfranchised population, because we see it. We knew that the way that politics were ran prior, people basically just had to focus on certain zip codes in the city to get their support and basically take over the seat and supposedly represent a certain part of the city that they never, attempted to try to even appeal to or hear out. And so I think, it kind of reminds me of our old, antiquated electoral college system that's gotten us into so much trouble, it just seems like maybe at a time, maybe 100 years ago was a good idea for some reason, but we've grown past that, and obviously the demographics in Santa Ana have changed in such a way that it's allowed for people like the Vietnamese American community to get disenfranchised, and considering the fact that this part of Orange County has the biggest population of Vietnamese Americans outside of obviously mainland Vietnam. There's an argument to be made, and I think it was the Asian American Justice Coalition or something along those lines that made that argument toward the city, and they basically referenced a Californian voting right act, basically make the argument. And so there wasn't much of an argument to be made anyway, but they're the ones that obviously took forth on the call to action, and they made it happen. So regardless of that, obviously we have the system of voting to where it's going to be fair any way you look at it. And so if I win, obviously I'm going to see it as a fair win, and if anybody else wins, I'm going to see it the same way. So democracy in the end is going to decide who gets to represent the people of that ward, and I'm going to fight as hard as I can to be that person. And I think that, I think that I can represent, well, for one, the Vietnamese community and the Latino community in a lot of ways have a lot of things in common with having access and being ignored in a lot of ways. But I also don't think that, someone's ethnicity qualifies them as being the best candidate in any way. There could be a Latino running that does not have the Latinos' interests in mind. And isn't the best voice for the Latino population, and I'm sure the same.
Pulido.
What's that?
Sorry, I caught just something about Pulido.
Oh, okay. So there's that argument to be made, just because, let's say there's a Vietnamese candidate, that doesn't mean necessarily that and it's the same way that so Santa Ana, has a very small Black population. There's a 1%, I think, population of Black people in our city. And if there was a Black candidate, that doesn't mean that Black person wouldn't be the best person to represent, my ward or the next ward over. You know what I mean? To me, I don't really necessarily see things that way. I think that, a lot of people try to politicize the ethnicity thing quite a bit, and maybe too much. And I'm not trying to look at it that way. If I win, I want to be able to represent Latinos and our Vietnamese community in the same way that I represent, the 1% Black community that exists in that ward. So, in the end, again, our democratic process here is going to kick us all in the ass in the end, and decide who's gonna represent everybody there. I just hope that I can, and like I said, I've grown up with Vietnamese neighbors. I have Vietnamese friends. We were surrounded by Vietnamese businesses around us that we frequent and everything, and so we're all sort of part of the same pool of people, and so it's not a him or this person
them versus us,
them versus us situation. And I think that's sort of that's the trap that people fall into too easily. It's like it's either you or us versus them, and I don't, again, I just don't really think that that's the case, at least for me personally. So.
Yeah, I mean it's identity politics, right? When it comes down to it, and I've said it many times, whether you're Black or you're white, like in the words of Michael Jackson, doesn't matter if you're Black or white. Anyway, no, what I was gonna say is whether you're Black or white, blue or red, or whatever, it's male, female, or non-gender binary. It really matters whether you're in the pockets of special interest or you're not. It matters if you're going to be representative of the issues and needs of the community, or if you're going to, go to the special interests. And so, I think that is I completely agree. I mean, there's representatives that are Latinos. I mean, Antonio Villaraigosa in LA comes to mind, and another one locally that rhymes with boo, that whose name we will not utter, but that I'm saying, like, do you really represent the needs in the community, and or you're not? And of course, as Dylan mentioned, Pulido, which in my case, he did not, and so it doesn't matter, like if you're Latino, if you're still a vendido, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, we know like Sergio Contreras running for, I think you were alluding to that a little bit, but, he represents in city council a very Vietnamese population in Westminster. And I think he does it very well, and to his credit, he speaks Vietnamese, which is like super admirable. So he has like an extra level of connection that, I don't have yet with his constituents, but I mean, it's not impossible, and I think he does a really great job at it, and he's a model for that. And, there's no reason why, we can't have the same here in Santa Ana. So, yeah.
Right on. Yeah, no, it's, so politics is tricky. And so, Tony, like you mentioned, you're jumping into this, you're not seeking the big endorsements. You're trying to literally carve your own lane, in the process. And people can, if they have enough people power, if they have enough resources available to them, and also if they have enough ingenuity, which in your case you've shown through in your history, from being able to create something from nothing.
Thank you.
That's so it very much could be in the cards that you could be the next council member, and so like or whoever, like you mentioned, like democracy giveth and taketh away, just like identity politics. So in the end, I think I hope that the best person that's going to truly represent the interests of the community wins.
And I'm grateful for that. And obviously, we do a lot of work in our community as it is now, and whether or not I win, that's not going to end. And whoever takes that seat in Ward 1 in the end, I'm going to want to work with on some level, regardless. You know what I mean? There's things that we have in mind for our community there, our backyard, that we want to help with, just through the company and through our just personal stuff. And so either way, we're
that's right. Yeah. So. If you win, you're gonna work with yourself, and because like you're a work in progress, and you got to work.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to put up with myself all the time. I will say on a lighter note, like your hair, just speaks testaments to the Suavecito pomade. How you're able to like create these awesome waves and stuff.
Yeah, because we're all long hairs here, all three of us.
That's right.
Yeah. That I was saving this question because I knew it'd be hard, but I mean, I got a lot of flyaways. Like, do you have a product for me? I mean, like, how do I keep this neat?
Yeah.
Like right around here.
We have we do have products.
Some edge control.
Turn into an infomercial, but like historically. Girls, they used to use this thing called edge wax made by some different company, but we have a product similar to that is a little less harsh. Like the ingredients are a little less harsh on you, and so they, a lot of girls they use their they want to put their baby hairs down and stuff like that, and but some people actually like make waves in their hair, so they'll make like a and so like they get more creative, and so they need something that really works.
Something really sticks,
all season.
I gotta admit, I did.
I'm gonna look into it.
I bought my first like Suavecito like product like in my life recently, and it's I like it. It smells good. It does the work, and also like, don't tell Ben, but I've been like stealing his pomade for years.
He's watching.
Oh damn it. No,
dipping in.
Yeah. So and y'all, like, the most remarkable thing is you really replaced tres flores as like a thing that like homies and like home that what is it psychobillies and rock and greasers and all these cats that a lot of them are in Santana, Riverside, everywhere, like are now using your product and rocking your your cool.
Yeah. Well, think about that. So my dad used tres flores, like he had like a brillantina, but which was like a really weird. Which I don't know that people are using more, but it was an oil. It was just like a bottle of oil, like yellow oil. And like, my dad was using that forever. And I'm sure most people have people in their family that just like, they have a product and just stick with it. And they don't like, unless they discontinue it, like they're going to use this until the day they die, And so we've been fortunate that a lot of people have been like willing to try our products and like have made the jump, Because I'm like, when I get a deodorant and that's it. Like I'm using this deodorant for years and years and years. And like the rest of my life if they keep making it, you know what I mean? So we've been fortunate enough that people have sort of taken the leap of faith,
Yeah, it's funny you say faith. It's like a conversion.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is.
Yeah,
like brand loyalty is real.
Yeah, it's hardcore, especially it's hardcore.
Well, yeah, great brand. I actually have mugs from Suavecito. I think I do need to get some product now. So
yeah, come on by.
Yeah,
we're here in Santa Ana. So we're here in Santa Ana. Even like our building. Long story short, like we fought to get this building because people wanted us to go outside of Santa Ana to like buy our first building and stuff. And so we fought. And it also got gerrymandered out of Ward 1. So it's like, it's on the very edge of being part of Ward 1. So.
He doesn't even own a business in this ward.
Yeah, I don't.
Doesn't even go here.
Watch for that attack. Yeah.
I know. They're going to treat me like a valley girl or something.
Oh, man, that's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So I'm expecting my 10% pandemic special after the show. I have this in mind because of, I don't know if y'all watch South Park, Integrity Farm and stuff.
Integrity.
Anyways. It's hilarious. You should watch
it. I will say, wow, what was that page? There's a page on Instagram. I'm blanking out now, but it's like a city council watch page. And then they kind of called out some of the council members as puppets, but it was really funny because they cut out their faces like the Canadians in South Park.
Oh, that's great. I haven't seen that.
I mean, some of these pages, I don't know who runs them, but they do such a great job. Like the information and like the graphics they put out, it's very engaging and like very encouraging, So I'm like, I follow them and it's cool.
Right on. Thanks. Yeah, Ben is saying that Ben is saying back to politics. Y'all selling out.
I think that's
free products. Screw you, man.
Sorry, it's the end of the show banter.
Yeah, this is. Yeah,
we can cut it out anyway, right? Probably.
No, this is going live.
This is gold. This is gold, baby.
Yeah.
It's entertainment.
Yeah. Well, I think we went on the whole journey and adventure.
Oh yeah.
Talked about your
I
story
appreciate
and
it.
growing up, and
It was a true Hunter S. Thompson experience.
That's awesome.
It was like we were on this crazy LSD trip together.
It was a trip, a journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on.
I'm coming down now.
Yeah.
Back to reality. Back to the campaign. Yeah, keep fighting, man.
So you got 30 days.
It's gonna get heavy.
See, so ballots are dropping. All sorts of things are happening.
People can vote now. People like as of the 30th, people can go into voting centers and vote now. You don't have to wait for their ballot. And certain people, like even after the registration, a lot of people don't know this. Like after the registration period is over, you can still walk into a voting center and register on the spot.
Yeah, they've done a lot to improve.
Access. I mean,
big time.
There is literally no reason, like no good reason to not vote. They're making it so easy for you. Vote by mail, vote in person, vote 5 days before. But I'll still say that the biggest turnout, GOTV force that we have locally is that dang orange guy, Donald Trump. He is gonna get a lot of our people to come out and vote. So people are saying that there's gonna be a high voter turnout election. So which then will make.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
Interesting.
But usually when there's like an incumbent president, the turnout's lower, I think, right? Only when there's like an open seat every, I guess it's been every 8 years. Yeah, because you're rolling the dice more.
Yeah. So I mean, the Trump effect with. But
now people know what kind of guy he really is, right? So that'll drive people more, hopefully. Now like everyone's worst nightmares came to reality.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hope so. I do hope so.
So that'll drive people.
I mean, I'm thinking. In the end, I want to say that 2020, to my children, grandchildren, or my nieces and nephews, or whoever, youngins, gather around.
Y'all don't know.
Y'all don't know. Let me tell you about 2020. It was a tough year, but you know what? We got rid of that SOB Trump, and man, that made it all worth it. That's what I want to be. Please.
It's crazy to think how much optimism there was in the beginning of the year, but we still got time.
All right. Well. Tony Adame, CFO, Suavecito, candidate for Ward 1, Santa Ana City Council. We wish you the best of luck. And we truly are glad that you came on the show. We had a good time. And
thanks for coming on.
For sure. It was fun.
Policies. Absolutely. All right. And last thing, where can folks find you? On Facebook, online, website, etc.?
Yeah, I try to make it easy. So it's like TonyAdame.com, and that'll show you a bunch of stuff. But you can find the links to my... It's kind of weird to say links because it's like Tony Adame Instagram /
Yeah, it's like Facebook.com/Tony.Adame.Santa. I learned.
Yeah, it's really weird. But my website's just TonyAdame.com. You can find all my links there, and you can find my platform there. And any other information you like, you can contact me there if you need anything, you have any questions. That's the easiest. And obviously we have our social media platforms, which are our advertising outlets. But you can also contact me there. It's just that sometimes that's a little slower to get to because we get bombarded sometimes. But I'm trying the best we can. We don't have a campaign manager here. We're doing it all on our own. So it's a bit tough to try to keep up with everything. But it's working. So yeah.
Cool, man.
Nice. All right. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in the end. We'll see what happens on November 3rd.
Woo!
All right.
Well, yeah.
Peace, man.
So what do I do here now? I stop video?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
All right. Well, see you guys later. Thank you, guys.
Later, Tom.
See ya.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Woo!
Yeah, that's Tony Adame. He's got nice hair. You see his campaign picture. I'm so jealous.
I'm gonna get some product.
Dude, did we really sell out to try to get free product?
Did we sell out? Oh yeah. Well, you're the one with your 10% coupon idea. Jeez.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Be more subtle next time.
No, it's literally from the South Park show. You had to have watched.
Okay.
to see that it was in fact. So the whole thing was like during the pandemic, this, Randy, who has a weed farm now called Integrity Farm, he's offering 10% off like 3 ounces and a free bong. And so like, and his wife is like, this is terrible. Why are you people don't care about weed and the bong. It's like, but I'm trying to be nice to them. Like, give them a free gift. So then all these people, like, it becomes a hit. So anyways, that's where it came from. The end. Watch the show.
The end. You had to be there.
You had to be there.
Integrity, though.
Integrity.
We need integrity, though, don't we? In our politics.
Yeah, but on the rail, regardless of, win, lose, whatever, like those products are bomb. So, yeah, I'm here for it. Yeah. So
good plug.
Just saying once that stuff.
Oh my God.
I don't know what Ben's talking about.
You're just selling out more. You didn't redeem anything, by the way.
Stop it. Just go to.
Okay. Can you act like a journalist for 5 seconds?
You bring it back. Yeah. So I mean, the questions, around the Voting Rights Act and district elections and what is the spirit of the law, what it is needed is definitely one of those things that that got it. That is the question around it. In Anaheim, it's working itself out to where like district elections has not helped to grassroots candidates and the powers that be, the PACs and the big money folks have just learned how to
they adapt
to the new system, and they're still able to get their count in their candidates. The whole, in my opinion, the more spirit of it is grassroots candidates should be able to run and win these races.
Well, I mean, you still have Jose Moreno. He still won. But for the most part, like the landscape hasn't shifted as a result. Right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I mean, it shifted for the first election after district elections, and then the council majority then flipped back into staunchly. I think they have a 5-2 majority now, so everything that they put forth, just comes through, and so the question then remains. It's not just about changing the system. It's about engaging voters and turning voters out that we're systematically and historically disenfranchised, but just in general, just apathetic towards voting. And I know folks will be like, oh, you need somebody to vote for, somebody that inspires them and stuff. Yeah, but you also just need to like inspire people, motivate people, educate the young people, right? Let them know how important voting is. There's a lot of things that we have to do. Not just changing, the rules of the game, but just changing the culture around the game and around voting. In general, I would say so. Yeah, thanks, Carolyn Torres, candidate for council. For school board trustee, Carolyn Torres. Rewatch. Yeah, we got into the politics and whatnot. So, and Ben was here. Thanks for joining us, Ben, friend of the show.
Top
fan with the top fan badge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got his cool little setup in the backyard with a big projector and stuff. So yeah, he's chilling.
He's a community guy.
Yeah, he's a people's mayor, no matter what.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. If this is your first time, please follow our page. It's Happening Show. Goes live most of Mondays, almost every Monday, at 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., where we talk to the people that are on the front lines, politically, culturally, and artistically, and in every which way. So, we're here for that. And So, and you can please like us on Instagram, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's Happening on YouTube. We're everywhere. So. Yeah, this is your place to get the latest on the local and national level. To the fullest.
Oh yeah, to the extreme. Mountain Dew. Oh, is that Joker again? Come on. I thought that died last year.
No, it didn't. Oh, I'm working on my voices. But you know what? The next voice I'm working on is my Kermit.
Okay. Oh, Kermit?
Kermit.
The frog.
Yay!
Do some voice acting.
Yeah.
Get on Fiverr there.
All right, guys. So I want to thank once again Tony Adame for joining us, Ward 1 council candidate for Santa Ana City Council. Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting race, no doubt. Indeed. I want to thank all the people that follow us. Please tune in next week where you'll get the next person to join us here on the It's Happening show. So thank you, audio video engineer Edgar Silva, for being an awesome audio video engineer. Iron Lion Media Studio. Get your dose of podcasts, or get your podcast on with his capabilities as the podcast king.
Dose yourself.
Dose. All right. From Dylan Thompson and Jose Gloria and all of us here on It's Happening family, we are signing off.
It's happening. Woo-hoo.
Para no ver lo que es verdad, te han engañado, no es libertad, lo que tú vives es vulgar, ser un esclavo sin descansar mientras que el burgués se aprovecha de tus labores. Hay que luchar para vencer este sistema capital.